It's early morning along the damp and windy Dutch coast, where tens of thousands of fans are descending on the famous racing circuit of Zandvoort. Today is the first race of the new season of A1GP, and most of the fans have come to cheer on their national team, the Netherlands. As the start of the day's racing approaches, the grandstands come alive with excitement and anticipation. On the grid, there's growing tension as the mechanics and drivers of the 22 cars and nations go through their last-minute checks and preparations. The quest to become the third nation to lift the World Cup of Motorsport title is about to get underway. After the traditional post-race celebrations, local hero Jeroen Bleekemolen gave the incredible home support something special to cheer as he entertained the thousands of fans in true A1GP style. As the crowds headed for home, the teams and support crews set to work packing the cars and equipment in preparation for the next race on the calendar. Daybreak, and as the transporters began their journey across Europe, in press agencies across the world, news was breaking that would send shockwaves throughout the world of motorsport.
Motorsport is dominated by the likes of NASCAR in the United States and Formula One nearly everywhere else. 3 years ago, a new concept in international motorsport was launched. The A1 Grand Prix is about equal technology and national teams, and it now has the backing of one of the sport's premier names.
A new deal is being announced today. In fact, this is exclusive news you're about to give us. So what is the deal?
Well, we're very proud to say that Ferrari and ourselves have concluded a deal to supply us the next generation cars for 2008. That will be Ferrari engines, Ferrari chassis.
In the automotive world, there are a few names that create the aura and passion of Ferrari. For over 50 years, they've been at the pinnacle of supercar design, producing some of the most iconic names ever to hit the road. Success has followed in sports cars, GT racing, and most famously Formula One, where the team are the most successful in the history of the sport, with 16 Constructors' World titles. The combination of this incredible racing heritage and their iconic road cars has meant that generations of car lovers around the world have grown up with the magic of Ferrari.
I think Ferrari is special for a whole raft of reasons. Starting off with Commendatore Enzo Ferrari, the man that created this company, a man who created passion and emotion and his racing car team, not just Grand Prix teams, but sports car teams. And growing up as a child following motorsport, you could not ever ignore the name of Ferrari in a motor race.
There is so much history, so much tradition, so much racing. Ferrari is a legend worldwide. I mean, that's incredible. When you talk about the Ferrari name, anybody heard about Ferrari name.
The very mention of Ferrari gets everyone's juices going. It's the make which most people, want to drive for.
Everywhere you have Ferrari fans, you have Ferrari flags, and for a driver, for somebody like me who still have the passion of motor racing, it represents the brand and the team and the cars where you want to be at least once.
Everybody wants to follow the Ferrari team because it's just the most incredible team. It's just the most beautiful car, and I think he brings also the love from the road cars to the race cars. And I think that's when you become a Ferrari driver, you understand what it means. It's really like a religion. It makes me very proud to be part of the most important brand in the motorsport. That's why for me it's a big pleasure.
Somewhere in your heart you have a place for Ferrari. You cannot be a motorsport fan and not like Ferrari, so it's just the absolute magic word.
None more so than in Italy, where the factory staged the Finale Mondiale event at the Mugello circuit to mark the end of yet another successful season of racing. Thousands of Ferrari fans turned out to see many of the marque's race and road cars in action and pay homage to the newly crowned Formula One world champions. A1GP management and Team Brazil seat holder Emerson Fittipaldi took time out to visit the event for a tour of the Formula One team garage. The two-time world champion joined A1GP chairman Tony Teixeira and Ferrari's Jean Todt to confirm details of the landmark deal, with Ferrari powering the cars and collaborating on the design of a new chassis for the next 6 years. A final endorsement from Ferrari president Luca Di Montezemolo marked the beginning of the most exciting period in A1GP's history.
A1GP, being the World Cup of motorsport, promised its fans and its teams the best equipment. Ferrari liked the concept. They understood it immediately, nation versus nation, the level playing field. I think that's basically how we got it, but obviously a lot of perseverance, and I think getting them to accept that the product, the series, the whole thing has got a huge potential and a huge future, and it's going to be one of the greatest series in the world, and I think that's how they got to become our partners.
We started basically working on the deal about almost 2 years ago, so the beginning, we think it was almost impossible to do it, to be quite sincere. Ferrari is basically the pinnacle in the world of motorsport. It's a brand that everyone wants to be with. And so for us was, I think, quite an honor.
It was amazing when A1GP announced that they were going to be working with Ferrari. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise. It's the first sort of venture that Ferrari have got involved in like this. And it just shows the amount of commitment that A1 and Ferrari are willing to put into this new championship.
Sepang International Circuit, just outside Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. As the teams and drivers prepared for round 3 of the A1GP season, there was excited reaction to the news that next year's cars would be powered by Ferrari.
Well, it's a fantastic deal for the championship. It means a lot to everybody here. We all want to drive a Ferrari. It's a great name.
When I was a kid, I used to watch Michael Schumacher on the TV and sort of dream to and aspire to be like him and like the Ferrari team. So to have Ferrari on board with A1 for next season is a very exciting time.
It's going to be a huge impact. Already A1 is very spectacular and fun to watch. So already people come for that, but next year they're going to come to races with 22 or 24 Ferraris watching and racing each other. So I think it's one of the best things you can watch.
For the driver, I think it's more fun, and I'm really looking forward to it for sure.
As the drivers' focus returned to the track, it was time to go racing. A double victory for Neil Yarni in the sprint and feature races took Switzerland to the top of the championship standings. Whilst thousands of miles away in Europe, the search for a technical director to lead the design team for the new car was nearing fruition.
I was asked to go to Ferrari in November, just basically because I just didn't believe this thing was serious. But when I went down and we sat down with Ferrari and saw the people involved at Ferrari and their enthusiasm for this project, I realised this is a serious commitment.
With just 9 months before the new car's first race at Zandvoort, John and his team now began a race against time to design the new A1GP chassis. As well as building the engine, Ferrari also provided technical support, with none other than legendary Formula One designer Rory Byrne brought in to assist with the project.
John Travis and his team in Bognor Regis in England are obviously responsible for the car design, and myself and John have a very useful discussion on various aspects of the engineering to the A1GP project, and I'm sort of offering input and advice as and where appropriate.
My relationship with Rory has helped us enormously. He's kind of our conduit between A1 technology and Ferrari. He's assisted immensely in the relationship of the engine department to us, the chassis department.
As the design and development of the chassis progressed in England, work was also well underway in Italy on building the new A1GP engine at Ferrari's world-famous factory in Maranello.
Ferrari have done amazing things, with adapting this engine to fit in a single-seater racing car. I mean, this is direct fuel injection, and with push-to-pass, we're running 600 horsepower.
It's an uprated version of the 430 engine that's in the road car, but of course, being derived from a road car engine has presented some engineering challenges in terms of packaging it into the car properly.
It's no secret the engine, weighs more than, a normal race engine. So we've got to look at, weight distribution, inertia figures, and then obviously packaging that.
As work on integrating engine and chassis continued in England, on the other side of the world, the A1GP teams were beginning practice for round 7 of the current season in South Africa. For Rory Byrne and John Travis, it's a chance to learn about the series and meet the teams and engineers who next season will be working with their new car. They were joined in the pit lane by 2 key figures from Ferrari, Head of Engine Development Jean-Jacques and Operations Director Mario Almondo.
It's the first time for me being here. It's very good, nice premises, a nice place, and I have to say that the show is very good.
We have been really impressed by the way things are organized. Everything is running very well. So for the new Formula, with a new challenge, with something different from any other Formula in the world, we find that the result is fantastic.
After a handshake with A1GP chairman Tony Texera, it was all eyes back on the racetrack. With John and his design team now 2 months into the project, the first real picture of what the new A1GP car would look like began to emerge.
The basis for the design was it had to look like it came from the family of Ferraris. When you put it amongst the Ferraris, you had to think, oh, well, that's a cousin.
As well as aesthetics, there were other important considerations in the car's design.
One of the briefs that was given to me, it was obviously to keep the close racing. And the aerodynamics play a big part in that. If you look at this car, yeah, it's got features of Formula 1, and it has got other things that are completely different, like front wing position. And the front wing plays a huge part in being able to overtake.
To test how the aerodynamics would behave under track conditions, the design team moved into the next phase of the project.
Wind tunnel testing is absolutely critical. Gone are the days, where you guess what is going to happen. We had to make sure that when we ran this car, it was going to do exactly what we thought it was going to do aerodynamically. The general shape of the car, the underwing, the cooling, the wing design is all predominantly led by what comes out of the wind tunnel.
During testing, John and his engineers worked through a series of aerodynamic configurations to determine how even the smallest change would affect the balance of the car.
The testing that we've done, the numbers look very, very good, and the correlation between the model and the full-size car is excellent.
With the design of the car nearing completion, work on constructing the first full-size prototype chassis was now underway. Unlike a road car, the chassis of a racing car is constructed using a complex layer of carbon fibre sheets. These sheets are stored under strict temperature conditions before being cut into the required shapes and bonded onto a mould. The whole structure is then placed in an autoclave, where a combination of pressure and heat cures the resin to form a structure that's not only incredibly strong, but also incredibly light. And it isn't just the monocoque of the new A1GP chassis that will be made from carbon fibre.
Basically, all the bodywork that you see, the underfloor of the car, the wings, everything is made out of carbon fibre.
One major component on the new car that isn't made from carbon fibre is the gearbox, and transmission specialists X-Track were brought in to oversee its design and manufacture. Using advanced computer technology, X-Track's technicians had to design a completely new gearbox for the A1GP powered by Ferrari car.
Well, we're looking at quite a high specification of gearbox here. We now have a longitudinal gearbox rather than a transverse, and we have an integral bell housing with slightly bigger casing. There's also been some challenges to mate it to suit the Ferrari engine, which has quite a high crank height. But we've managed to do that by putting in some drop gears and lowering down the shaft so that the centre of gravity is still close to the front of the car, and the weight is low down in the car as well. So it's really what you call a proper racing box.
As assembly and manufacture of the first of the gearboxes got underway, just 150 kilometres away, the A1GP circus had returned to England for the final race of the season at Brands Hatch. After a season of incredible racing, it was Switzerland who were crowned the new World Cup of Motorsport winners. With the countdown to the new season now on, work on assembling the first prototype chassis was underway at A1GP Technology. Ferrari test driver Andrea Bertolini was confirmed to give the brand new car its first ever run, and he'd flown in to meet the design team and familiarise himself with some of the controls of the car. 72 hours later, a team of engine and electronics experts began the complex task of installing and testing the car's hydraulic and electrical systems. With the completed car scheduled to leave for Italy in the morning, the tension was beginning to show. May 25th, 2008, just 5 months after design work began, the mechanics were putting the finishing touches to the new A1GP car in readiness for its shakedown at Ferrari's official test track at Fiorano in Italy. For John Travis, Rory Byrne and the whole A1GP team, it was the moment of truth.
Take it away. And just tell me where you want the switches.
Just crank coil pressure.
For technical director John Travis, the test had been an emotional day.
Very, very excited about, watching the car for the first time, and especially at Fiorano. The car ran extremely well. We've had very good feedback from the driver. The car is very consistent, it's easy to drive. And now our main challenge is all the development work that we have to do on the car and with Ferrari on the engines.
It had been a momentous day in the history of A1GP, yet for the team of mechanics and engineers, the hard work was only just beginning. With just 4 months to develop the car in readiness for the start of the new season, the test team now embarks on an exhaustive summer schedule across some of the leading circuits of Europe. First up was a 2-day test at the famous Imola circuit in northeastern Italy. It was a proud moment for Ferrari test driver Andrea Bertolini, who was back behind the wheel of the newly liveried car on his home circuit.
Okay, I'm ready.
After a successful day's running, Bertolini was delighted with the performance shown by the brand new car.
When you drive one car like the A1GP with the Ferrari engine, it's something very special, and the level of the car is very high. And I tell you, the feeling is really good.
From Imola, the test team moved on to Jerez in southern Spain, where the car ran in the high summer temperatures that feature at several rounds of the A1GP calendar. Ferrari test driver Andrea Bertolini was back behind the wheel, and after 3 days of intensive running, the prototype chassis had now covered over 3,500 kilometres on track, the equivalent of half a season's race distance. Whilst testing is crucial in developing both the endurance and performance of a new car, safety also plays a fundamental role in its development. The strength of a race car chassis is absolutely critical to the safety of the drivers, and in order for the new A1GP chassis to gain the approval of motorsport's governing body, the FIA, the new car had to pass a series of strict crash tests.
The crash test program, now obviously this is very, very difficult, and the FIA run very, very high standards now for all categories of motor racing. So we have to go through all of the FIA criteria, and this basically starts off with the frontal impact, which is the nose, the side impact, we do all the squeeze tests, we do the roll hoop tests, we do the rear impact tests, and this basically determines the general layup of the monocoque.
Key to getting the new car through these crucial tests was Ferrari consultant Rory Byrne.
The car has to conform to the 2005 Formula One crash test regulations, and obviously I have quite a lot of experience at what's involved in passing those regulations, so I've obviously passed on that information to John.
With the whole build program of the new car dependent on passing these tests, the pressure on the design team to get everything right was immense.
The main thing was your schedule. If you basically make a mistake or have a failure in the crash test, your schedule's put back. You can't go into production. I mean, we did have some incidents, but it's not an exact science. You know, we had a good team of guys that eventually sorted those problems out.
With the car officially approved by the FIA, full-scale production could now get underway.
We had about half the guys that you can see here with us now. So very quickly we had to recruit a new workforce. So you can see we've ramped up virtually overnight. We work a two-tier system, days and nights, 7 days a week, to get this project on schedule.
In motorsport, we tend to like to work to tight timescales, and this one was as tight as many. We always want to try and hang on to the last possible moment to do the best job. It's been tight but achievable.
For A1GP's worldwide team of dedicated suppliers, their own race was now on. With production of the race cars now in full swing, the test team's relentless summer schedule continued as they headed back to Italy. It was a landmark occasion for A1GP, as international media and team personnel gathered to witness the first public running of the new car at Mugello. Under the watchful eye of Mario Almondo, Andrea Bertolini prepared to give the new powered by Ferrari car its most important run to date.
Well, I have to say the development of Jenny and the car is developing quite well. We have in program in the next 10 days in France, in Paul Ricard and in Maricourt. And I think that our drivers are very happy about the development of the car, the drivability, the grip level, and everything is going in the right direction.
The car's performance also impressed Emerson Fittipaldi, who seemed eager to get back behind the wheel.
I would love to drive. It would be very difficult to drive, over 600 horsepower, all mechanical control. It would be a challenge to drive the new A1 car. I think it's a car that will separate the men from the boys.
From Italy, the test team's summer tour of Europe moved to southern France and the famous circuit at Paul Ricard. Over 400 kilometres were covered on one day alone, as Andrea Bertolini and new test driver Patrick Friesacker continued the new car's punishing development programme. The test also saw the announcement of Michelin as A1GP's new tyre supplier for the next 3 seasons.
The project was interesting for us because all the cars being the same, instead to be just a tyre supplier, we became a partner such as a Ferrari.
One of the most famous names in world motorsport, Michelin used the 4-day test to try out a variety of tyre constructions and compounds.
The tyre will be the best one we found after all the tests we made during the summer, which is a big challenge for us to make a tyre will work in any condition, soft or hard or racetrack or cold or hot temperature.
With just one dry weather tyre to be provided to the teams, the testing was vital for Michelin to obtain the best compromise between grip, endurance and wear before the start of the new season. After a summer developing the new car in the heat of southern Europe, testing now moved on to the cooler conditions of England. It was another important occasion for all involved with the new powered by Ferrari car, as the test marked the appearance of the first production chassis.
The yellow car that you see, we've run about 5,500 Ks with. It's been loaded up with telemetry gear, loaded up with test gear. It's probably about 30 kilos overweight. The second car is the first production car, the first car that's going to be exactly the same as the car delivered to the teams.
The testing's gone very, very well. We've completed over a season's racing. And basically, we've had no major problems, with the car or with the engine.
Key to achieving this reliability has been the integration of the car's complex Bosch and Magneti Marelli electronic systems.
We've brought the electronics up to date for a modern racing car. We've put in a start protection strategy that will protect against engine and transmission damage, but still leaves the onus on the performance of the start to the driver. We've also tried to develop an electronic system that's both interesting to the driver and teams and also not too complex. I think the idea is to have electronic functionality but not driver aids. We don't want to take away the emphasis of the driver in this formula.
These electronic systems are controlled through the new steering wheel, developed in Italy by Magneti Marelli.
We had to work closely both with Ferrari and to A1GP people to make them happy from both on the engine control and gearbox control. We provide the steering wheel, then we are providing the telemetry and the gearbox control system and the hydraulic system actuation.
It's been designed with the spirit of the car that this is based on, which is a 2004 Ferrari, and has the electronic functionality which that Ferrari had. So for example, using push buttons and rotary switches, and also we've got the up and down shift paddles, and we've got the dual clutch lever system exactly like in the Ferrari Formula One car.
Experiencing the new gearbox for the first time at Silverstone was test driver Danny Watts, and he became the first driver to pilot both the old and new generation of A1GP cars.
It's good to have last year's car for me as a benchmark, as a comparison to the new car. And obviously all the guys are asking me so many different questions about what the differences are in all the different areas. It's a big step forward from the other car. In every single area, from aerodynamics, the power, it's all very noticeable.
But was it quick?
It is very, very quick. The Copse is quicker because of the extra aerodynamics the car produces. And coming down into the hairpin at Abbey, I can brake later, I can brake harder, get it stopped earlier because of the carbon brakes. The braking capacity is much better than the old car.
With testing of the production chassis confirming the new car's performance potential, assembly of the first batch of team cars was now underway at A1GP Technology. Just days later, the first completed chassis arrived in South Africa, where the new car was officially unveiled before seat holder Tokyo Sequali and A1GP CEO Pete Da Silva. The launch season continued thousands of miles away in Asia, as Korea became the latest nation to join the A1GP grid. At a lavish presentation in Seoul, seat holder Kim Jung-yong announced his vision to over 500 assembled guests and media. And there was more big news from the glamorous Principality of Monaco as they confirmed their participation in the World Cup of Motorsport. Driver and co-seat holder Clivio Piccioni gave residents an early morning wake-up call as he took to the world-famous streets around Casino Square.
To have the chance of having our colours of the Monaco country racing against 23 other nations is just fabulous. I think having the support of Prince Albert II is a great aspect. When I first introduced that new project to him, he was just delighted, so I'm very proud to wear those colours around the world.
With the new season now less than a month away, a wet and windy Donington Park hosted the first official team test. Despite the weather, there was a real sense of excitement down the pit lane as the drivers prepared for their runs behind the wheel of the powered by Ferrari car.
First impression is amazing. Car is great. It's really, really fast. The engine has a great torque. It's a big emotion because I'm sure Ferrari will watch us, and therefore it's a great opportunity for me and for the team.
Really excited, you know. The car looks fantastic. Yeah, new Ferrari engine's awesome. Plenty of power on the straight. Already you can feel that it's got a fair bit more power than last year, so hopefully I can get on top of it pretty quick. Be ready for Zandvoort.
I have to say it's a big step up compared to the last car. I think aerodynamically it's a big step forward. The brakes are better, the power is better, so generally it's a good feeling to drive this car.
A feeling which deserted South Africa's Adrian Zauk, who became the first A1GP race driver to crash the new car. A concerned John Travis checked anxiously for damage, but the strength of the new A1GP chassis meant that Zauk would soon be back on track. By the end of a day that saw all the teams and drivers impressed with the performance and reliability of the new car, it was Malaysia's Faris Fauzi who had set the pace on a drying circuit.
I think I feel very excited now. I'm very happy to drive this car, especially the car is similar to Formula 1. I've driven a Formula 1 before, and I think this is the closest to Formula 1.
Donington also marked the end of the summer test programme, and for the team of engineers who had developed the new powered by Ferrari car, a new chapter was now beginning.
We now just finished the first team tests and have discovered what it's like with different drivers compared to one test driver doing all the development. So we got all kinds of new challenges of wild young drivers who drive the cars differently to our more experienced test drivers, but so far so good. It's been very challenging getting here, and now we're looking forward to racing.
After an incredible 12-month journey that had seen the realisation of a dream, the first event of the new season was about to get underway at Zandvoort. Up and down the pit lane there was a real sense of history as the circuit's famous sand dunes prepared to reverberate for the first time to the sound of the new Ferrari V8 engines. As the drivers prepared for the first practice session with their new cars, there was growing tension at several of the teams as their chassis and other key components had only just arrived at the circuit.
Well, the build-up to this race has just been a huge amount of pressure. To produce this amount of cars in such a time scale, I mean, the guys have just been working flat out, day and night.
When we signed up with Ferrari, we had 11 months to construct 23 new cars. We had a new engine, new gearbox, new chassis, new tires, new fuel. Everything was new. The suppliers, the teams have all been fantastic. You know, as we speak, there are some people working on their cars and they've been working through the night to try and make the grid.
It's been a phenomenal experience to see these cars come together and, you know, to get them here, you know, just the logistics of moving these cars about, the spurs, everything to get them here at Zandvoort has just been a phenomenal achievement by everybody.
As the teams and mechanics worked frantically to ready their cars, the scale of that achievement became clear as qualifying got underway. At the end of a tense and dramatic session, it was home driver Jeroen Bleekemolen who took the all-important pole position, setting a new lap record some 3 seconds faster than the previous best. It had been an incredible performance by the brand new car. Race day, and despite the atrocious weather conditions, tens of thousands of fans had braved the elements to see their national team lead the cars away for the start of a new era of A1GP.
At this moment it's really raining, it's a bit terrible, but on the other hand you can see here 50,000 Dutch people, and I'm sure they will enjoy the race. It's really great that everybody's here. Great event.
After an exhaustive 48 hours, there was growing tension on the grid as the mechanics and drivers battled the elements and went through their last-minute checks and preparations. For everyone involved in the design, development, testing and construction of the A1GP powered by Ferrari cars, the moment of truth had arrived. It was time to go racing. Despite the terrible conditions, the thousands of Dutch fans had witnessed a truly incredible day's racing. For the A1GP teams and their new powered by Ferrari cars, the quest to be crowned the World Cup of Motorsport winners was now on.